Hi everyone, it's Sarah and it's time for a monthly update. And yes, we're back on my face because I forgot where all my footage was of me working on projects. But this is our November update. This is for all people, newsletter subscribers, YouTube subscribers, Patreon supporters, everybody. What's going on with my romance books? If you don't know me, hi, I'm Sara Marks. I am an indie romance author. I write Rom Com modernizations of Jane Austen's classics in the 21st Century Austen series. Right now, this is a 5-book series, and we're going to talk about book 6, book 7, and a bunch of other things today. I have my list. We're going to start with Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy news. Now, for those of you who are new to this conversation, Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy is book 6 in this series. I have to keep track. There's 8 books in total. This is book 6 in the series, and this has been exclusive early access on Patreon for nearly a year, and it's about to end, and we're moving into the next thing. So let's talk about what the plan is for publishing Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy and what will come next on Patreon and what else is going on Patreon. So start with the Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy news. This will go up for pre-order on Amazon only as an ebook. I don't think they do paperback pre-orders yet, but I can set the release date. But it will go up in December. This means it's probably going to be released in late January. But I want to time the pre-order so that Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging, which is going to be in the next Stuff Your e-reader, Stuff Your Kindle Book Blast Romance Day in December. That's the book that we're giving away this time. Modern Persuasion was in September. Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging, as a special one-time only, is going to be in December. That means you can get it for free, read it, pre-order Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy, which is its sequel, its exact sequel, not just an anthology sequel. It's book 2 in the series. No, book 6 is a direct sequel to Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging. It is a gender swap Pride and Prejudice modernization. Ginny Darcy is our Mr. Darcy, the sister of Mr. Darcy in the previous book, and Elliot Bennet is our Elizabeth. This is set in a candy store. I loved writing this story. I've been talking to the candy maker who taught me and answered my questions. I do not know how to make candy. She did not let me make it, but she told me how she does. And I watch so many candy making channels on YouTube now because of the research for this book. So there will be candy at some point in time. It might just be me eating it. I'm going to be honest. So that pre-order is going to start in December, and the book will be released at probably the end of January. It depends on how we progress with what's coming up. We'll get there. What's going to happen on Patreon once this is over? December is going to start a very special Patreon only exclusive access to deleted scenes. Now, if you've been reading the story, you know there's always our Wickham. And if you read Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging, you know his name is Jorge Wickham. He's a jackass. Let's just be honest. He's a jackass. But he's a jackass with a redemption arc. The original plan with Sweeten Up Ginny Darcy was he would come back as our Wickham, throwing everybody off because Ginny Darcy is his victim once upon a time because she is still Miss Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. So it was going to deal a lot with how she felt about his being free and being able to invade her life again and being used to invade her life and throw her off her game. So there's a lot there. It ended up being cut because we're going to discuss that on Patreon and in exclusive Patreon content, why it was cut, what it means, and what the plan is for Jorge in the future, because he's pretty critical to the series that's coming after this. The first spin-off series will connect to the 21st Century Austen series through Jorge and his redemption arc, which is going to take the entire series. Because if you read the book, you know he does not just get a redemption. It's not just that easy. He really has to prove himself. So you'll get those chapters, which will not be available anywhere else in any way, shape, or form. There will be more short stories. I have been working on them. They are coming back. And eventually those are going to be edited for an exclusive Patreon-only ebook edition of those short stories. Just like the A Little More series, this one's going to be kind of a Patreon exclusive version of that. So you do need to be a Patreon member to get that content. Other things that are going to happen on Patreon, Romancing Mr. Tilney. It is right here under a pile of things on my desk. Here is the first draft of Romancing Mr. Tilney. It does not have a ton of words. It's going to be a short novella kind of book. I'm looking to add it's got 23,700 words. I'm looking to add about 10,000 more when I do the second draft in December. And I wrote that in October. In 2 weeks, I wrote 23,000 words because I was so motivated to write this story. That's coming up on Patreon next. I've talked to my editor if I can finish the round of edits in December, so you know what I'm doing on my winter vacation, then she's ready to edit it at the beginning of January. We can be rolling by mid-February, which means it's time to start cover design processing and consultations, which won't take long because it's going to match the rest of the series. The whole series has got to match. But this is a fun dating reality show story with the characters from Love from Northanger Park's Katie. That's the Northanger Abbey modernization. And I created my own theme park for that. You might recall Hannah from that book is coming back. We are going to spend more time with Katie. We are going to get to see some of Hannah's Hannah's relationship with her father and her oldest brother, Carter. So we're going to get a little more depth on those characters. We're going to see Katie less as like a lovelorn, flighty character and more as a supporting character because Hannah is our main character. And we get to see a little bit of how jaded Hannah is, especially because she did not sign up to be on this reality show, and she is the object of their desire. So that is Romancing Mr. Tilney. That is book 7 in the series. We're going to take it slow with that one. It's going to be like a chapter a month because I'm still working on Citation Needed. That will now be the last book in the series. And when I made the decision, I realized it really felt perfect to sort of end the series where we began. We began with a modernization of Persuasion, and now we're going to end there with a gender swap. Again, gender swap modernization. This has really been a lot of the theme of the second half of the series. Not so much with Unraveling Carrie Woodhouse, but with these last 3 books, it really has been about looking at these relationships from different points of view, from a different gender expectation, because putting yourself out there is very different for a woman than it is for a man. And it's not that we're wired differently. It really is that society has set us up differently for these moments and for our expectations around them. So I'm really looking forward to it. This one I'm being super careful with. If you've been paying attention, you know this one features Penny Smith from Modern Persuasion. She is a wheelchair user. I really want to make sure that I, a able-bodied person, get her as close to perfect as I am capable of getting her. There will be special sensitivity readers who are also wheelchair users and see through that world. I have been doing research, but there's only so much I can do. And I will openly acknowledge that through the entire book, because her perspective of this relationship that she is getting a second chance at and her place in the world is very defined by how she is both the focus of attention in some situations and utterly ignored in others, and never really feeling like she belongs somewhere, except with with Mason. Not Mason. Yes, Mason. This is Mason's story. So there is still more work to do, which is why I swapped Romancing Mr. Tilney with Citation Needed. The last thing I will be working on over the next few months are edits to Love and War in Woodhouse Hall and Love from Northanger Park's Katie. Just like the previous two, Modern Persuasion and Pride, Prejudice, and Pledging, I really wanted to give these two a brief overhaul, just to flesh out some of the things that didn't really make sense. I'm going to be honest, I have learned so much over the years about writing, editing, and I want these books to reflect that. This is my privilege as an indie author. I can update these editions and make them even better and more reflective of the world that I created. Sorry, it's allergy season. I have a few. But in general, those will be re-edited. That's just going to be a quick re-edit. It's just going to take a little while because I have so much else on my plate that I'm much more excited about than editing something else. There will also be updated bonus content. I'm playing with the idea of the sex-only scenes, which is the sex scenes that I never wrote or cut out. There are bad dates. There are short stories. There's a lot of things in this collection of stories that I want to do, including title sets. So the 2 Emma modernizations, the 2 Pride and Prejudice, the 2 Persuasion, the 2 Northanger Abbey, like putting them in their own special collections so you can get both of them together. I just need time. And unfortunately, I'd rather spend that time writing right now. It's where I'm getting some of the energy I need to do the projects I want to do. So I'm kind of leaning into that. But these things will happen. Patreon is continuing. The pre-order for Sweet and Up Ginny Darcy will begin in December. And I really think those of you who weren't on the Patreon with us will really enjoy this story. Ginny is just so wonderful. Such a product of going to therapy, I think. But also there's so much talk about candy making that if you don't like candy, you might by the time this is over. So have a great rest of November, and I'll talk to you again in December. Bye.